Our next family that's going to come and speak to us is a newborn screen family. Please welcome DJ and Jennifer McDaniel from Indiana.
Okay, good morning. All right, well, thankfully I don't have to do this alone. I have my wife here to help me out and struggle through. So, first of all, we are very honored to be here today. So we do come from Indiana. I'm DJ McDaniel. This is my wife, Jennifer. My background is in chemical engineering, so I'm currently an engineering manager in the medical device industry. And my wife is a certified speech language pathologist working in pediatrics. So a little bit about who we are. So you can see pictures of our family here. And we currently live in Bloomington, Indiana, home of the Indiana Hoosiers. And we have 3 children, Jacob, who is 6, Connor, who is turning 4, and our baby Taylor, who is 18 months old. So like many families, we like to enjoy the outdoors and do lots of activities together. So Taylor was born in September 2021, and that is where our ALD journey begins, and why we are here talking to you today.
How do I go to the next one? Okay. 2 weeks after Taylor was born, I got a phone call from our pediatrician. I'm sure many of you can relate. I remember this day very clearly. The doctor asked me to get a pen and paper, so I knew it was going to be serious. X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. What? Can you spell that? What? I didn't know if I should grab my phone and start researching or just try to listen to her. She told me it was X-linked. I didn't register that meant that it probably came from me. I was just overwhelmed, right? She said, "Don't worry about Taylor. It affects boys. Don't worry about her." I felt relieved. I was a little confused. I didn't even think about my boys. Didn't even consider it. I thought, oh, we're good. This is only about boys. So she explained it as best she could. She gave me a number to the genetic counselor at Riley Hospital for Children in Indianapolis, which is about an hour away from us. Taylor was also the first baby in Indiana to be detected for this through newborn screening. And here you can see her 2 brothers holding her as a newborn, and the Hope shirt that we got in our care package from the ALD Alliance. So there's little Taylor.
So of course, we started to research ALD online, right? Like any new parent hearing this, you're scouring Dr. Google. It was clear that girls were not as adversely impacted, the same as boys. And we noticed that Indiana had just started newborn screening for ALD in July of 2021, just 2 months before our daughter Taylor was born. I assumed it had to be a mistake. There's no way we don't have this history here. We have this, had to be a false positive. Then I remember specifically searching girls with ALD and came across a website that mentioned male family members should definitely be tested, especially our brothers. I was immediately overwhelmed with emotions and the thought of what if. I told Jen to prepare for what they might say about the potential impact to our boys. So a few weeks later, we took our baby girl to Indianapolis, about 1 hour from our home. And I remember being so anxious, kind of like I am now, and worried about what they would say. The genetic counselor and staff were very kind, though, and thorough. They did not advise ongoing care or monitoring for Taylor, but wanted to quickly get our boys and Jen, my wife, tested for the ABCD1 gene variant. We drove home from Indianapolis together. It took us some time to digest all the information and reflection on what we had learned.
Okay, so then we fast forward a few months. My children and myself were tested through home swab kits at home. We sent them in, and we just anxiously waited. Of course, they say 2 to 3 months. So every week, okay, this is 1 week, 2 weeks, just waiting for that phone call. And I remember, Indianapolis is a different zip code from us. So anytime a 317 number would call, I would run to my phone and just expect it to be them. Just couldn't wait, right? So the call came on December 6th. It was 2 days before Jacob's 5th birthday. So the genetic counselor said, okay, Connor has tested negative, but, and my heart just sank. I knew that it was coming. Jacob has tested positive. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. He's 5 years old. We're too late. Why is this happening? What does this mean? So, after I was able to calm down and call my husband at work and kind of, update him as much as possible, I began to immerse myself in information, of course. I immediately joined some Facebook support groups, and the outpouring of support and love from the internet strangers was oddly comforting. Reluctantly, someone sent me a message and said, "Can I call you?" And I said, "I guess." Well, it was Miranda. And she has been a comforting ear and just such a support for me from an ALD mom. So I really appreciated that. ALD Alliance immediately sent us a care package. The parents guide, which is here and you probably all have, was just excellent. Way better than searching Google. It was thorough, easy to understand. You could refer back to it. It covered everything. It was just great. So, okay. So we kept everything very vague with Jacob. Here you see him. He's 5 years old here at Riley. Riley's Children's Hospital got us in for his MRI and his visits with the neurologist and endocrinologist within 2 weeks, which was good. We were very much the squeaky wheel, calling, we need this done now. I, of course, thought the worst. We're too late. This is too late. We were, after receiving our first clear MRI, I feel like we won the lottery. A couple weeks ago, I was defeated and crushed. And now I'm like, yes, we got this. No big deal. Like, he's clear. It's funny how that is. We were so humbled and grateful after that first clear MRI. I felt like we had a whole new outlook. We got this. A supportive ALD parent once said to me, it's like living your life in 6-month increments. So don't worry about a thing until your next appointments. Live your life happy now. Don't worry about it. And that's what we plan to do. Okay. The genetic team was very helpful with coordinating our first appointments. What struck me was that for the following appointments, the next 6 months, you're really on your own. The genetic counselor is really there to hold your hand, as you guys know in the beginning. After that, bye. Good luck. I mean, not that serious, but you are on your own. It's your responsibility to make sure that all the logistics and the labs were covered. It's our job as our parents to advocate for our kids, to make sure the adrenal labs are completed before the MRIs with anesthesia, to make sure our boys are comfortable, to make sure the appointments are set and not too far apart from each other. Each 6 months, we learn new things about the process. We learn new things about our home hospital, about our doctors. Anesthesia was definitely a concern for us, of course. So we immediately started talking to Jacob, who's 5, about his MRI. We talked very openly about how important it was for the doctors to get good images of his brain. I tell him it's like his brother's asthma. It's something we have to check on. It's like grandma's diabetes. This is what you have, and this is what we need to monitor for you. The wonderful book from the ALD Alliance Care Package, The Donut That Roared, is a regular way for us to prepare, as well as YouTube videos of MRIs. And Jacob was able to do his second MRI and all of them following with no sedation. So we're very proud of him for that. Our hospital has the movie goggles, which helps. And he always goes alone with Dad, and it's their special time, and they do special things together after. So we all know that having a strong support system is critical. Whether you tell the whole family or you just keep it private, having others to lean on is so helpful and just great for as a parent. Whenever my thoughts become negative, my worries get really big, I think the worst, I just have a simple statement, as cliche as it is, that always brings me down, and it's just faith over fear. The Facebook support groups, like I mentioned before, are really great to connect with other people. And I like to tell Jacob that his baby sister has saved his life. And I think they have such a good bond. You can see he always smiles when I tell him that your baby sister saved your life. So.
Okay, so now we want to share a little bit about ALD and our extended family, and I feel like it was a really good follow-up to the great presentation before us. But really, what does this mean as you start to, absorb this information and really help explain this to your additional family members? So the genetics staff really encourage us to have additional family members screened for the ABCD1 variant, which we're thankful for. We did find out that my wife's mother, Patricia, is positive, along with her brother, our Uncle Dave, as well as Jennifer's sister Megan and her brother Chris. And after confirming all this, of course, we became very curious about Uncle Dave. It was not something, ever since I had known Dave, his mobility had declined. I had never even remotely considered that he may have a genetic condition impacting his ability to walk. So after speaking with Dave and other family members, but we had figured out Dave had been diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth, and many of you may be familiar. If you're not familiar, it appears to me to be kind of a catch-all genetic condition that affects the peripheral nervous system. So the characteristics are nearly identical to adrenomyeloneuropathy, or AMN. And after speaking about him with his medical history, he specifically noted his decline started at age 47. So age 47 stood out to him very distinctly. He was an avid runner, typically a trail runner, and he said he vividly remembered feeling like he couldn't lift his legs, like he was going to trip. So he basically stopped running around that time. I think he also went through another medical thing, but it was that was really the onset, it felt like, for him. And on the picture on the right is maybe a pretty recent couple pictures of Uncle Dave, where he's assisted in walking, although, yeah, I would say now he cannot really stand much on his own, basically wheelchair bound. Of course, I mentioned Jen's brother, Chris. This is really much more recent for us. Chris confirming that he is a positive diagnosis. He's 38 years old and fortunately has not experienced any mobility issues. So of course this was a shock to him, but after discovering that he was positive, he was able to schedule his first MRI and follow-up appointments. So they went ahead and did that first MRI for him, which was clear. When he did follow up with the neurologist and the testing that they did, they do believe he has early signs of neuropathy in his hands and feet. So something obviously that he is absorbing now, and I think adjustments to his lifestyle and things are actions that he has decided to take for his best outcome. So, feel like a lot to say here on the last side, but I think for many of us that are new to this community, for us it's a little over a year, but where are we today and what can we do? Everyone is at a different point in their journey with ALD. We attended the ALD conference virtually last year, about 2 months after Jacob's diagnosis. I have scoured the published literature for more information around this genetic condition that results in its various outcomes. And I think as an engineer and scientist all my life, it's like I just want to know the results, right? This is not something where we get that privilege, I guess. The most fascinating thing to me is that it's unpredictable. Some of you listening today have experienced the worst of these outcomes, and many of us do not yet know how this will impact our families. Possibly the most powerful weapon we have is the newborn screening to help us have more data to understand the various factors that may lead to childhood cerebral ALD, adulthood AMN, or possibly no symptoms at all. I greatly appreciate the work of many folks at this conference today and working around the world to understand this genetic condition. I am fascinated with the ALD, with the variant database. I got a chance this morning to talk to Dr. Malik a little bit about that database, who helped me identify last year with the same genetic variant as my son, Jacob. The published cases, for what I read, similar to Uncle Dave's, were consistent with adulthood AMN appearing in the 3rd or 4th decade of life. I do believe the newborn screening will lead to larger population diagnosed with this genetic condition, as you saw with the example of our family. This suggests that the probability of these outcomes may be lower than reported, but we just don't know. If you have recently learned of your child's genetic condition, please know that you are not alone. There is a strong community of ALD parents, families, doctors, researchers, and many more that are focused on ensuring the highest quality of life. That's why all of us are here today. I got off a slide, so sorry about that. For our family, Taylor has given her brother hope. We stand committed in our faith and know this is only the beginning of our journey. And I really love the saying, so I'll just say, always remember, together we can. And this is really such an honor for us to be here and speak with you and share our story today. So again, thank you. We put our contact information. If anyone would like to connect with us, who is a recent parent, or if you any questions at all, please reach out to us. Thank you. And we'll take any questions. If someone has questions for us. It would make me less nervous to ask a question. So.
Sorry there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure all newborn screening does as well, to hear your positive outlook on this and the experience, and especially how you're really thinking about how we all have to work together. I think that's the message I was trying to give, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. What I may add for those families that may be listening online or here today is it's your initial reaction is, I don't want people to know this. I'm scared. I don't know what this means. But I hope that you can use the resources and know this doesn't have to be something we're afraid of. It is something that the more data we have around it will help us understand the outcomes and treatment. So I would really, I guess, encouraging you all to be confident in that, and reach out to those who can support you.
I just want to add, that's super important that you said that it's not to be afraid to share, because when our kids were diagnosed, we didn't tell anybody. I was scared to even tell our family, our immediate family, but our story was actually told for us on accident by somebody else. And so any new parents here, or online, I encourage you to share your story and to advocate for your children and to advocate for your families. Don't let somebody tell your story for you, because your story is very important to share, but you need to share it yourselves and to not be afraid to get out there and say the things that people need to hear.
Hi, thank you both so much. My name is Taylor also, and I found out that I had the ALD gene at a young age, when I was 3, when my dad was diagnosed. In the past, we've definitely heard some thoughts that ALD newborn screening in girls can be harmful, in that girls shouldn't know that they're carriers because it will negatively affect their quality of life. And obviously, while many of us disagree with that, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on when you think you're going to talk to your daughter about being an ALD carrier. And yeah, just would love to know if you guys have thought about that yet. I know she's still really young, but
that is a good question. I don't think we have thought about that yet because she is so young, but I am sitting next to a geneticist, and she gave me a really good tidbit this morning when we were talking. She said that her daughter is 12. Sorry, I'm sharing this. And she has a medical condition, and she's told her a little bit about it from the beginning. And something that stuck out is that she said, then I don't tell her when she's 15, and she's shocked. Like, what? And I think that's the same thing with our son, Jacob. The book, The Donut That Roared, talks about a jelly bean in his brain. Well, he was 5, so we just rolled with that. You have a little something in your brain, we're going to keep monitoring a jelly bean in your brain. And I think when Taylor is maybe in a couple years, we might take that approach where we keep it kind of vague, but continue to tell her about it so that it's not a shock when she's a teenager.
I will say,
that's exactly what my mom did with me.
I will say, Taylor, we saw your talk last year, so it was really nice seeing the name connection, and I really appreciate your work. I really feel I'm more nervous to have those conversations with my baby girl than my son for some reason, and so I think, we will approach it kind of growing into it, where it's like keeping it vague at first, and then I feel like we'll know when the time is right as she gets older.
For sure. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for sharing your story. It was interesting how similar your story was to my story, and probably so many other families who have the diagnosis through the newborn screen. I have a son and a daughter with ALD as well, and they're both little. And I just think the conversation around girls with ALD is really interesting. My daughter, who's 5, just started asking about it more and more. Where's my brother going for this doctor's appointment and things? And so I think it's just an interesting discussion we should continue to have, those of us who have girls with ALD. When is the appropriate developmental time to talk to them about it? Do they lead the conversation? But I do think normalizing the diagnosis is so important. So I appreciate the conversation around it. Would love to continue talking. And I wanted to say you guys did a great job.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, DJ and Jennifer, for your courage in sharing your story. And I think I can say I speak for everyone here how honored we are to have you as part of this community as well. That was just fantastic.